Welcome to Brainstoryum. I'm Anna Tizard, award-winning dreampunk and deeply weird fantasy author, and yes, that's me and my fiction that's deeply weird. Explore and imagine with me the most unexpected story ideas using the surrealist word game of Exquisite Corpse. Find out more and join in at annatizard.com. This is a storytelling challenge unlike anything you've tried before. Hello, imaginative people. I'm Anna Tizard, and this is episode 86 of Brainstoryum. Well, I have some exciting news. I have been interviewed by the Spotlight Indie podcast, and the video is out now on YouTube. It's all happened a lot faster than I thought it would. Otherwise, I would have mentioned it for sure in the last episode. These Spotlight Indie folk don't hang about. In the interview, I talk about my writing journey, what ultimately drove me to begin a podcast, my challenges, and we even play a couple of rounds of live Exquisite Corpse. The game results are, of course, laughably ridiculous at first. Then the hosts, Frasier Armitage and H.L. Tinsley, come up with some great ideas on the spot. And of course, this means I reveal the socks of destiny. This is the first time the socks have ever been seen anywhere on the internet. And Frasier, as a long-time listener to the show, expressed some surprise at what they look like. So tune in and enjoy the curious, the chats, and the creative mayhem. I'll put a link in the show notes, or if you just go to YouTube and type in Spotlight Indie plus Anna Tizard, I'm sure it'll come up. There are in fact 2 interviews we did, and the second one is out tomorrow. That's Sunday the 3rd of August, would you believe? The second one is quite different. There are some thought-provoking questions in both shows, but the second one is more of a troubleshooting exercise where we look at the topic of writing short stories, which is so up my street, as you'll know. And Frasier and Holly have some really good tips and techniques on this as well. Some quite different approaches came up, as I'm very much a discovery writer, especially when it comes to short stories where you can really be experimental. But it's always fascinating to hear other authors' views and approaches and understand why different things work for different people, because, thank goodness, we are all different. And it's also nice to see where these approaches also intersect. It was so good to get together with fellow authors and just have a really in-depth chat about it all. So don't miss out. Look up the Spotlight Indie podcast on YouTube. They do loads of interviews and they even do live group writing sessions as well. For more information on them, go to spotlightindie.co.uk. Now, before we move on to new games and new story possibilities, I am delighted to share with you some ideas and stories that listeners have sent me for this show. In the last episode, a curious phrase cropped up, caveman with a telescope. So I put it out there on social media. Can you imagine a reason why or how a caveman might end up with a telescope? And of course, there were some amusing responses, as you'd expect. Patrick Towie said, maybe an alien came by to study Earth and dropped his telescope. This got me thinking, what made the alien run or fly away? Did it see something it didn't like? Surely not. There's definitely something in there that you could play with story-wise. Thank you, Patrick, for your thoughts on this. Nick Vrekar said, Ogre was a scientist. His early experiments were based on his club hitting someone's head. but he expanded his research to solid and hollow sticks against things. The clear crystal was neat. He applied hollow stick to it. He looked through it and was mesmerised by the stars. Well, this manages to be funny and heartwarming all at once. Thank you, Nick. And Nicholas Bozzo, one of our younger listeners, replied with a short story on another weird word combination that I'd suggested, which was the sinister frog. He wrote, "The sinister frog was an amphibian so frightening that even the other frogs were scared of it. It showed no mercy to bugs, spiders, or flies, and struck whenever it had the chance. One day the pond came under attack. 'Birds from the sky!' the frog screamed. But the sinister frog wasn't listening. He was too busy stealing food. The birds caught him and carried him off to their nest, unaware that he was the most fearsome frog in the world. When his moment came, he set the worms free from the rickety food tray made of sticks and leaves and dismantled the ecosystem of nests the birds had built. To mask his escape, he fashioned a disguise from his own slime and the fallen feathers of the birds. As he was about to slip out of the nest, he noticed something. Eggs, but not bird eggs, frogs' eggs. He felt compelled to save them, yet he still wanted to maintain his reputation as the most sinister frog. With the birds closing in, he made up his mind. He shed the disguise, transformed it into a makeshift bag, scooped up the frog's eggs, and dashed back towards the pond. When he arrived, no one recoiled in fear. Instead, every frog turned to watch. "No one has ever escaped the bird's nest," one frog whispered. Then one became two, two became four, and soon the entire pond was clapping and cheering for the sinister frog. It got even better when he opened the bag and released the eggs back into the water. A few days later, the not-so-sinister frog was being welcomed to the pond rather than forcing his way in. No one was frightened of him anymore. And the birds, they never came back, all thanks to the chaos and clever trickery of the sinister frog. Well, you've packed a lot into a small space, Nicholas. I don't normally read out more than a paragraph, but I'm not sure that even if I wanted to, I'm not sure that there would be a way to condense this and shorten it without losing vital details. Short stories don't always orchestrate such a fundamental change for the protagonist, but you've managed it in a short space. Thank you very much for sharing your story, Nicholas, and well done. Now it is time to reach for new ideas. Or might they be developments of previously half-written or half-glimpsed story ideas with new twists to discover, like I did last time? The only way to find out is to reach into the socks of destiny. That's right, and for those who haven't played before or listened before, or listened for a while, Exquisite Corpse mixes words and phrases from different players into a single sentence that goes describing word noun, action, describing word noun. And so it is with some trepidation that I reach into the describing word sock for our first word. This is from Wendy. Infuriating. Okay, someone or something is infuriating, but only the noun sock can tell us what or who. This is from Paul Thomas. Inglenook. Now, to be perfectly honest, I thought this was a made-up word. I thought, what are you doing sending me made-up words? But of course I Googled it and discovered it's actually a place either side of a fireplace, like a sort of a recess around a fireplace. So an infuriating inglenook? This is a very strange combination already. Let's try and see what is in the action sock. This is from Nicholas Bozzo. Welcome to the game, Nicholas. Was jealous of. Okay. So an inglenook is both infuriating in some way and is also jealous of someone or something else. We shall have to work out what this actually means. So the next word, if I can just retrieve my hand from the depths of the describing word sock, is from Kimberly, jagged. Okay, I'm just going to jump straight into the final word. The final noun is from Wendy, wire. A jagged wire. Okay. So altogether we have the infuriating inglenook was jealous of the jagged wire. I don't think we can be talking about a literal inglenook, surely, a recess around a fireplace. You know, the more I say inglenook, the more it sounds like an odd little creature, especially if it's infuriating. And jealous of a jagged wire? That's weird. For some reason, wire is making me think of, it's like an old-fashioned phrase, isn't it? If you wire something to someone, wire a message to someone, it makes me think of like phones, or I suppose any form of transfer of information. You could do it through email, computer transfer. And also I'm just thinking about the fact that jealous doesn't necessarily mean envious of. It can mean if you're fiercely protective of something that you have. So the infuriating inglenook was jealous of the jagged wire. It's maybe this is a bit crazy, but I feel like inglenook could also be the name of a magazine of short stories. Inglenook Tales, Inglenook Adventures, because people tell stories around the fire. So trying to put these two things together, you have perhaps the infuriating inglenook is something to do with storytelling around the fire, a really ancient art. Being jealous of the jagged wire, some means of transferring or telling stories in a modern way. I'm not sure. This is a very peculiar one. I think I'll let that rest for now and try another Exquisite Corpse and just see if anything might brew in my imagination later. If I pick that one, then I'm sure it would be something to do with storytelling. Anyway, the first word for the next Exquisite Corpse is acidic. Okay. Something or someone could be described as acidic. This next word is from Paul Benfield. Mouse. Oh, that makes me think of sugar mice. I'm not sure if they would be acidic. They might be acid forming if they're high in sugar, or just a sweet that's in the shape of a mouse. That's what it's making me think of. Or a mouse with stomachache. Could be that, but I need an action. What have we got there? Here we've got a phrase from Kimberly, streaked through. Oh, interesting, because a mouse can be described as streaking because they're so fast. Let me see, where is this going? An acidic mouse streaked through what? Here we go. Another describing word. This is from Abra of the Stories and Stanza podcast. Skyfaring. Oh, we have a flying mouse, also known as a bat, technically. Fledermaus in German. This is very curious. final word is from Frasier Armitage. Orange. And he even put fruit in brackets just to be certain that I didn't pick it out and think, oh, it's an adjective. I put it in the wrong sock. Oh, God. So all together, we have the acidic mouse streaked through the sky-faring orange. Cannot be a literal orange, come on. It's got to be an orange sunset, right? Because this is about something sky-faring. I think it's time for some green tea. Let me just give this a bit of a stir. Okay, inspiration awaits at the bottom of a mug, or does it? The acidic mouse streaked through the sky-faring orange. Taken literally, this is a really surreal image, but do we want to take it literally? Unless we have an alien mouse streaking through the sky. Of course it has to be an alien, because the orange is making me think about a spherical thing, an impossible sphere that is hovering in the sky, through which the mouse will streak. It's just occurred to me that the mouse may well be acidic if it's streaking through an orange, a citrus fruit. It's just rather bonkers. So I'm going to move swiftly on. You never know, something may stir from the depths of my unconscious mind to make perfect sense of this during the very long pause that I'm going to use, which you don't have to listen to because I have a pause button. First word of the third and final Exquisite Corpse of the day is from Paul Thomas. Oh my goodness. Can I pronounce this? Peripatetic. This means, and yes, I wrote it down, travelling from place to place, for example, working or based in different places for short periods. Okay, so you're sort of flitting around, someone who's not very settled or whose job requires you to keep moving. Let us see, what have we got? The noun is from Frasier Armitage. Oh no, kneecap. What? Okay, again, we cannot take this literally unless we're going for full-blown surreal. A peripatetic, i.e. someone flitting around, kneecap. The whole thing with a kneecap is that it needs to stay in place to protect your knee. Never fear, I'm just going to keep going. Just keep going. Pick some out the next thing. Oh, here we go. Again, Frasier Armitage with your oranges and your kneecaps. This is an action. More fruit involved. Launched an apple at. I tell you what, it's the best game. This is the best game to play with friends, you know. Never forget that on my how page at annatizard.com, there is a downloadable game sheet, so you can print it off and play it with friends. It is the most you will laugh for about an hour maybe, if you can stop. But here, this is slightly different, and I've turned it into a rather odd challenge. Next word is from Lee Stokey. Indescript. Something indescript, or someone. Final word is from Alessandro Bozzo. Fire elemental. Good grief. So, was that a person or a being that has power over fire? Okay, so I'm going to read out the entire Exquisite Corpse. I swear to God, these are getting stranger and stranger with each show. The peripatetic kneecap launched an apple at the indescript fire elemental. Could we interpret the peripatetic kneecap as a knee surgeon who keeps moving to different hospitals? Why would he or she be doing that? Unsettled all the time. And why would they launch an apple at someone, especially a fire elemental? Is this the ultimate weapon against someone who can manipulate fire to throw fruit at them? Ooh, but that's drawing me back to the first Exquisite Corpse, because there was a fireplace there, the Inglenook. I think that could be the game result that I end up writing, because it's gently chiming in my mind. Write me, find a way to write me. Forget the sky-faring orange and the flying mouse with a stomach ache. I think it must be the Inglenook with the power of the pause button. Sitting at home in front of her big, page-scattered desk, Eliza stared into her hand mirror. She wasn't even pretending to check for eyeliner smudges. Why bother? She liked it smudged, a bit gothic, and she was alone anyway. Wasn't she? There was the presence she'd often sensed in this apartment, an old house split into 3 flats. Hadn't that been the real reason she'd chosen it? The weird atmosphere was good for her imagination, the haunting stories that spilled out of her at night like dreams. Her sketches spread over the desk in stillness, waiting. She tilted her hand mirror, frowning, but aside from her freckles and her stubby nose, it only showed the dull light from the window behind her. Eliza sighed, then bit her lip. The broken mirror she'd found in the graveyard, resting against a stone, had picked up more than a grey sky. Twice she'd peered into it. The first time with light-hearted curiosity, intrigued by the opulent brass frame studded with black jewels. The second time, her heart thudding, daring herself closer to the cracked surface. And there they were again, wispy faces, hollowed eyes, hovering hungrily, fading out of view. Proof, that's what you need. She jerked forward, her hand mirror clattering onto the desk. Had she just imagined that thin, reedy voice? Proof that you are different, that it's real. This time the voice was quieter, but clearer, coming from the fireplace. Eliza stood up slowly, her eyes fixed on the old Inglenook, an exposed brick recess that held nothing but a broken electric heater, a black box-like thing in the style of a log fire, complete with fabric flames inside that were meant to light up, if it worked, which it didn't. The blanket she'd laid over her lap slipped onto the floor. She shivered. The central heating barely worked in this place either. Who spoke? Who are you? She whispered, both dreading and longing for an answer. But only silence beat back, louder somehow than any voice. She crept around the desk, closer to the Inglenook, squinting hard, searching the specks of grit and dust that lay inside the recess. She'd tried sweeping them up or vacuuming them before, but they always seemed to creep back, from where she didn't know. If there was a hole or a crack where the original chimney had been sealed up, when this had been a real fireplace, she hadn't found it, though she never liked poking her head around there. Whispers, murmurs stirred, as if the wind was caught in the alcove, trapped inside the bricks. The mirror in the graveyard, and now this. What was happening to her? The voice was right, even if it was a voice in her head. It spoke the truth. What she needed was proof that she wasn't going crazy. Maybe by testing it, she might shake herself out of it. Her gaze drifted to the table, to the half-finished sketches and stories. This was the delicate line she danced along. She often half pretended that her storylines were real. She'd spent half her childhood imagining being chased by monsters, haunted by ghosts, even that she was a ghost. Trying to break her way into urban fantasy comics, it was only natural to dabble in strange ideas. That's how she ended up on these long meandering walks through woods with their quiet whispering secrets, and graveyards with their untold tales and muffled longing. But how far would she go to find a story? And what if she was beginning to believe in them? Eliza slipped on her scarf, her long black coat, then hesitated. What she needed was a direct comparison to the graveyard mirror, something bigger than a hand mirror. She darted into the bathroom and tugged the rectangular mirror from where it was stuck to the cupboard door, a frameless thing she'd salvaged from a thrift store. Her hand clasping the handle of the front door, the voice floated back to her, more insistent this time. If you find what you seek, I want something in return. As if this had been his idea, thought Eliza, then caught herself. His? Who is he? She strode out, closing the door firmly behind her, though with the strange feeling that she was moving deeper into this fantasy, not away from it. As if under a spell, Eliza stalked through the streets. The evening's light dropped its dark curtain until she began to feel invisible in her black coat. A small side street, lined with hunkered-down houses seeming to droop their noses into their short gardens, took her along a pavement that soon flattened into a narrow path, the side entrance to the cemetery. She strode in as if this was the most natural thing to do at 9 p.m., the long grass whisking against the ankles of her jeans. If she stayed on the gravelled path, she'd be too loud, too obvious. Attracting attention here wouldn't do. She frowned to herself, wondering where this thought came from. Who exactly did she think was here, watching? It was how she'd trained herself to think. Too much time spent living in her comic-riddled head. But here was the tall angel with the moss sprouting around her feet, which meant that just over there, past the oak with the lumpy roots sticking up, was the gravestone where she'd found the mirror, unless it had been moved. Eliza pressed her shoulder bag flat against her hip as she stepped over uneven clumps of grass and around jutting old stones, like wizened fingers frozen in a gesture at the sky. The outline of her bathroom mirror was reassuringly solid in her bag, though her fingers tensed over it, hoping, almost praying, as if a mirror might call to another mirror. Her heart dropped at the dark, empty space where the cracked mirror had lain yesterday afternoon. Gone. No, there it was. How had she missed it? But it was dark now, with only moonlight to guide her. From the side, its ornate frame was just another stripe of shadow between the shaggy grass. Breathless, she bent to pick it up, then hesitated. Should she touch it? Crouching now, she took out her phone and hovered its beam over the cracked glass. A pair of eyes floated close to the side of Eliza's cheek in a cold wisp of cloud. She sucked in a breath, glanced around her. Nothing to be seen, no one. Staring into the mirror again, the eyes blinked slowly, inviting. She touched the glass with a finger, and the ground swooped from under her. Her head spinning, Eliza landed, or so it seemed, on the ground, as if she'd been physically thrown through the air. "Now we have you," said a voice in the dark. Now, this story will continue. I'll explain in a moment how you can enjoy the rest of it straight away today, But let me first explain what is going on here with the Exquisite Corpses. It's not just the infuriating Inglenook was jealous of the jagged wire, and yes, I have an idea of what the jagged wire is going to turn out to be. This is combined with the rather delicious and nutritious Exquisite Corpse. The breathtaking vampire slayer crept through the cemetery to the decadent mirror. This came up in episode 44, which was a very long time ago. All I had at the time for the latter was a fleeting glimpse, just a few images, but they stuck. And I've known all along that I really wanted to do something with them. And so it went onto my spreadsheet, my ever-growing spreadsheet, that is my inventory of Exquisite Corpse stories. And it's been lurking there ever since, just niggling on my mind. How was I ever going to develop the breathtaking vampire slayer with her decadent mirror? Because I had to, right? It's such an exquisite corpse. Now, if you listen to the last show, you'll remember that I ended up using a new Exquisite Corpse to develop and tie off a story that I'd begun in the show before that. So this idea, this process was on my mind again when I pressed the pause button. Should I use this Inglenook idea to combine it with another story and develop it? A story that had somehow stalled since I didn't know where to take it exactly, but which still gave me the tingles and made me want to write it. And there you have it. Perhaps the breathtaking vampire slayer, which does imply the vampiric nature of the creatures that await her beyond the mirror, may have found its perfect match in this story of a haunted Inglenook and the cartoonist who lives with it. If you would like to read the rest of this short story, because I'm still writing it as I record this, well, not literally, it should be just about ready by the time this show comes out. And I will be making this temporarily available to read on my website from today's show. This does kind of give me a bit of deadline to make sure I get the first draft down in time for the release of this show, because I record a week in advance. And why not? Why not share this first draft with you if you fancy reading it all the way to the end? Because it will still be some months before my next book-length collection will be ready to publish, where this story, or a version of it, will hopefully be featured. During the month of August 2025, you may read the whole story at annatizard.com/weird. I'll put an option in there so you can skip ahead to part 2 if you're following up after listening today, but it's all there right now as you are listening. If it gets a bit confusing, if you're using your phone, because I realise there's quite a few tabs now on this website, just go to the Book of Exquisite Corpse page, and there'll be a link at the top of that page to the Weird page. I'll leave the story up there for just 1 month, so you need to be quick if you want to catch it. Future listeners will have to seek out the 4th book in my series, depending how many months in the future you're listening. You might have to wait a little bit more. It all depends. Anyway, I hope you enjoy that. And in the meantime, I'd very much like to hear what you would make of the infuriating Inglenook, because on its own, that is a really weird, curious, interesting word combination. You know what to do. Go to annatizard.com, click the contact button on any page footer, and write a short scene or a few lines to describe your idea. A paragraph is ideal. Please get it to me by the Friday after this show goes out to ensure I receive it in time. Also, do not forget to check out the Spotlight Indie interview on YouTube. Until next time, go forth and be inspired. I hope you enjoyed today's Brainstoryum. You can find out more about Exquisite Corpse and my series, The Book of Exquisite Corpse, at annatizard.com. Subscribe to my e-newsletter and you'll get Volume 1 for free. And while you're there, why not submit a few words to the Socks of Destiny on my play page? You may inspire me or inspire yourself to write a unique new story. See you next time.